Okay, let's start with the basics. A progressive web app is really about bridging the gap between traditional websites and native mobile apps. It's not just a website anymore, it's designed to feel like an app right in your pocket. The key thing to remember is that PWA are built using standard web technologies HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, making them incredibly accessible. They can work offline, which is a huge advantage. You can also add them directly to your home screen for easy access, just like you would with an app, and they'll even send you push notifications, keeping you engaged. Okay, so when we talk about PWA, it's really important to understand what distinguishes them from regular websites. The key is that they're designed to feel more like native apps. They achieve this through a few core components. First, there are service workers. These clever bits of code act like mini servers right inside your browser, letting you cache content and even work offline. Next up, we've got the web app manifest. Think of it as instructions for how your PWA should look on different devices, icons, splash screens, theme colors, all defined in a JSON file. Security is also crucial, so PWA must be served over HTTPS. And finally, they're built to be responsive, adapting beautifully to any screen size. The great thing is that users can actually install them on their home screens, making it feel just like a proper app. Okay, so let's talk about why you might choose a PWA over a native app. One of the biggest advantages is how quickly they load, often much faster than a traditional app thanks to clever caching techniques. Plus, PWA can work offline, which is fantastic for users in areas with spotty connectivity. Building them is generally more affordable too because it's just one codebase for all platforms. And don't forget about push notifications and discoverability. They are easily found via search engines, making them a really powerful choice. Okay, so when building a PWA, you're really leveraging the core of what makes the web great: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But there's one crucial addition: service workers. These are like little helpers that run in the background, allowing your app to work even when the user is offline, delivering push notifications and keeping things running smoothly in the background. You can definitely build PWA with just these basics, but using a framework like React, Angular, or Vue.js will make development much faster and easier, especially for more complex apps. And don't forget about workbooks. It's a fantastic library that helps you manage your service workers really efficiently. Finally, the web app manifest is super important. It's a JSON file that tells the browser how to display your PWA. It defines things like icons and what the name of your application should be. Okay, let's talk about service workers. They are absolutely crucial to how PWA work. Imagine your PWA as having an extra layer of intelligence operating silently in the background. These aren't visible on the screen. They're JavaScript scripts that handle things like offline access and push notifications. They're responsible for caching assets, things like images, HTML, and CSS, so you can still use your app even when there's no internet connection. Plus, they enable those delightful push notifications. And, importantly, they can do background tasks like uploading data without needing the user to actively interact with the app. Okay, let's talk about service workers. They are a really crucial part of PWA, and honestly, they sound complicated but are quite clever. Imagine them as little background helpers for your web app. When someone first visits your PWA, the browser installs a service worker, kind of like an extra layer in the background. This worker then constantly listens to what's happening with network requests. So if you ask for something, it checks if it has that asset cached. If it does, boom, it serves it directly from its memory, making things super fast. And importantly, when there's no internet connection, the service worker still knows how to serve up the cached stuff, giving you a fantastic offline experience. They are truly the unsung heroes of PWA. Okay, so let's talk about how a service worker actually works. Think of it as a little helper that runs in the background of your PWA. First, the browser downloads and caches everything: the main app shell and any other important assets. This is the installation phase, happening quietly in the background. Once all the stuff is downloaded and ready, the service worker gets activated. Now it's actively listening for things like when someone tries to load a page offline or clicks on a push notification. From there, it intercepts network requests. If something's already in the cache, it serves that up directly, otherwise it asks the server for it. And it doesn't stop there. It also handles those push notifications if you're using them. Finally, when you release an update, the service worker is updated too, so users always have the latest version of your app. Okay, let's talk about the web app manifest. It's a really important piece of the puzzle when building PWA. Basically, it's a simple JSON file that gives you a website instructions on how to behave once it gets installed as an app. It's like a detailed guide for the browser telling it things like the app's name, what icons to use, and where to open when someone clicks it. You need to include information about different sizes of icons, so they look great no matter where they are displayed in the device. It also controls how the app looks and behaves, including whether you want a full screen experience or something more traditional. Okay, let's talk about manifests. Think of a manifest as your web app's blueprint for installation. It's a JSON file that tells the browser exactly how to behave when someone wants to turn your website into an app. Key things you'll want to know are the name and short name these appear on the user's device. Then there are icons of different sizes, absolutely vital for making your PWA look polished. The start URL is where users will be directed when they open the app, and the display option dictates how it'll show up like a standalone app or just a regular browser window. Understanding these elements can really help you shine in an interview. Okay, let's talk about how PWA make it possible to use an app even when you don't have internet access. It all comes down to service workers. These are like background helpers that intercept network requests. They work with caching, storing website files locally so the app can serve them up without needing to hit the internet again. There are different ways they do this, like checking the cache first or trying the network if it's unavailable. And importantly, a basic version of your app, what we call the web app shell, is cached up front, giving you a usable experience even offline. Okay, so caching is super important for PWA. Basically, it's like giving your app a little memory on the user's phone or computer. Instead of always having to ask the internet for something which can take time and use, updated the app can pull that information from its local storage. Service workers are key here. They're background scripts that manage all this caching. The Cache API is their tool, allowing them to decide whether to fetch from the network or serve what's already stored locally. And a cool trick called stale while validate helps ensure things load quickly even if there's a brief delay while the app updates its cached version in the background so you don't see any annoying flashes. Okay, let's talk about caching, a really important part of building great PWA. We have two main strategies, cache first and network first. Cache first is like saying, hey browser, if you already have this file in your local storage, give it to me right away. It's super fast for returning users because they don't have to wait for the network. This works great for things that don't change much, like images or CSS files. Now, network first is a bit different. It first checks the network to see if it can get the resource. If it can, awesome. But if not, it uses what's already cached locally. This is really useful when you have content that updates frequently, like user data, so everyone always gets the latest version, even if they're offline. Okay, let's talk about registering service workers. They're super important for making your web app feel like a true PWA. The basic process is quite straightforward. You use Navigator, Service Worker, register and provide the path to your Service Worker JavaScript file. This tells the browser that you want to use a specific service worker. The method returns a promise, so you can handle success or errors. Logging the registration details on success and displaying any errors on failure is a good practice. You'll often work with Service Worker event source after registration to listen for events like installation progress or updates. Okay, let's talk about service workers and their scope. Think of a service worker as a background helper that runs independently from your website's main page. It can handle things like caching resources so you can still access parts of your app even when you don't have an internet connection. But here's the key, They only control resources within their specific scope. This is determined by the URL where your web app is hosted, and it's a really important limitation to understand. They essentially operate in a sandbox. They can't reach anything outside of that defined area. It's like having a restricted zone for your helper. Okay, let's talk about how we keep our PWA fresh. The most important thing to know is that service workers are like little helpers running in the background. When you deploy a new version of your app, the browser automatically starts updating the service worker. This is called a background update. It's designed to happen without interrupting what the user is doing. The core idea is cache first. The service worker first checks if it already has the latest version of something in its memory, the cache. If it does, great. It delivers that version directly. If not, it downloads the updated version from the server, stores it in the cache, and then serves it to the user. For really quick updates, like a simple notification, we can use push updates, but those often need a little user interaction. And remember, service workers don't just magically update everything at once. There's a transition period where both the old and new versions are running side by side, so it's important to plan for that. Let's talk about security. When working with service workers, they can be really powerful, but you need to think carefully about protecting your app. One important thing is sub-resource integrity, or SRI. This lets you verify that files fetched from the web haven't been modified. Also, pay close attention to how you configure cache control headers. These tell the browser how long it should cache content, and misconfiguration can lead to problems. Always use HTTPS because service workers operate within a secure browsing context. Content Security Policy, or CSP, is another vital tool that lets you control where your app loads resources from. And finally, be aware of potential risks when injecting events through service workers. It's important to understand how this could be exploited. Okay, let's talk about push notifications in PWA. They're a really important part of why these apps feel so much like regular mobile applications. Unlike a typical website that you have to refresh constantly, a PWA can send updates directly to your device when something new happens. It's all thanks to service workers and the Web Push API. Service workers are basically background scripts that handle network requests, and they work with an SSE or WebSocket to keep getting fresh information from the server. Then the service worker delivers those updates as a notification, so you get alerted without even having to open the app. Okay, let's dive into push notifications in PWA. They're fantastic for keeping your users informed and re-engaging them with your app. The key here is the service worker. It's like a little helper that intercepts all network requests and handles things offline. Next, you need to ask the user for permission to send them push notifications using the Web Push API. It's a simple prompt from the browser. Then, once they say OK, you can listen for incoming messages through the push event on your service worker. The data in those messages is usually JSON and contains important information like a title, some text, and potentially custom data to trigger specific actions inside your app. Finally, make sure your app gracefully handles these notifications, show them to the user, and let them interact. Okay, let's talk about a really powerful PWA capability called background sync. Basically, it allows your app to quietly do things in the background like updating data or sending notifications without you even noticing. It's like having a little helper that works while you're doing other things. It identifies moments when the network is available and the device isn't actively being used, then fetches the necessary information or performs tasks from the server. This ensures your app stays current and ready to go, even if you're not constantly opening it up. Okay, let's talk about how PWA really shine when it comes to performance and reliability. The secret ingredient is the service worker. Think of it as a super efficient caching system running quietly in the background. It remembers all your favorite assets like images, code, and even HTML pages, so when you revisit the app, it loads incredibly fast, almost instantly. Then there's the web app manifest, which basically tells the browser how to present this PWA as a proper app on the user's device, giving it that familiar look and feel. Finally, push notifications let PWA keep users engaged even when they aren't actively using the application, providing relevant updates or information. Okay, let's talk about the Add to Home Screen prompt. It's a really important feature of PWA. Essentially, when someone visits your PWA for the first time, the browser checks if it can be installed directly from the home screen. If it supports it, you'll see a little pop-up asking the user if they want to add it. This gives users an app-like experience without needing to go through an app store. The key is having a properly configured manifest file that describes your PWA. Think of it as the blueprint for how the app should look and behave. It's worth testing this on different devices and browsers to make sure it works smoothly.